about motherhood. 1 minute, you're mom of the year.
I love you, Mommy.
Then the next, not so much. From bath time to bullying, from potty training to puberty, parenting is full of challenges. But one thing is for certain, you are not alone. Welcome to Modern Mom Probs. I'm your host, author, mother, parenting expert, Tara Clark. Join me while we tackle today's modern mom problems. Welcome to the show. I am so glad to have you both here today.
Thank you for having us. Appreciate it.
We're so glad to be here.
Yeah. So you have a new book out. I'm holding it up here. Real Life, Real Family.
Yes.
What prompted you or what inspired you to write this book?
Well, this is our second book. Our first book was Real Life, Real Love. And we just talked about our relationship and meeting each other and growing up. We've been together 31 years, married 24 years. And we have 6 kids. And it's been a roller coaster. If you have kids, you understand. So we have a 23, a 21, 11, 10, 8, and a 3-year-old. And people would always come up to us and be like, how? Why? And people who've experienced or encountered our kids would be like, how come they're so nice? How come they're so polite? So we said, you know what, let's write a book and talk about the trials, the tribulations of how we raised our kids in different eras. When our 2 oldest, we didn't have to worry about social media. There was no social media.
Yeah.
Our youngest, there is social media. So we talk about all that. And, people ask so many questions. We said, let's be vulnerable. Let's talk about everything. And so many parents have hit us and said, thank you. We deal with the same things. We thought we were alone. When a baby comes out the womb, there's no instruction manual. So hopefully we can give people some help with an instruction manual that the doctor should give us when we have the baby,
I wish they did. That would have made things so much easier, but it's so much trial and error and like this works and that doesn't work. And each kid is different though too, right? You're like, oh, it worked for this one, but now the next one, it doesn't work. And now you're like throwing it out, like throwing the instructions out and being like, now I got to start from scratch.
Right.
Right. It's not a one size fits all endeavor. You know, as parents, we're different and we don't agree on everything. And each one of our children are different. But our goal with writing the book was to give other parents a guide on how to build a strong and successful foundation. Because with everything that's going on in our society right now, I feel as though we're at more of a deficit as parents than maybe our parents were. Mm-hmm. Our kids are plagued with so much more and they have a lot more to contend with than we did. So we wanted to take our over 2 decades worth of parenting experiences, our wins, our losses, our ups, our downs, and put it all in one place because I think we did a good job. We wound up doing.
Yeah, pat yourself on the back for that one. Dust your shoulders off for that because you should be really proud with 6 wonderful, beautiful children. Like what a phenomenal family. My husband and I have also been together for 30 years. We've been married for 20 years. Yes, we were high school sweethearts.
Okay. 1994?
1995. 95.
Okay,
Yeah, so we're close. In November. It'll be 30 years, which is crazy to think because we've been together longer in life than we haven't been.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
We've been together longer than we haven't been.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah, it's wild. Like we grew up together. We saw the world change together. We changed like woven together. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's such like an integral part of like who we are as people. And then obviously like who we are as parents. So I love that. And you don't hear enough of those kind of stories, know? And it's hard and you have to work at having a good marriage like that, work at creating a family dynamic like that. And so I feel very blessed and very lucky that I have my husband. He's my best friend. He's my go-to. He's like the one that I bounce all my ideas off of. And I'm sure your relationship must be the same.
It is.
Yeah. She's my best friend. And, we're the funny thing is when other couples are around us, they be like, you talk so much. You're around each other so much. But I tell everybody since 15 and 16, she's not just my wife. She's my bro. She's the homie. She's going to help me shovel the snow. We do everything together. She'll ask me about, babe, can you go pick these panties up from this store? Awesome. She'll say, babe, can you go pick up my thing from Sephora and get my makeup and get my this cream? And it's like we're that close. So I tell Gia's friends, if you tell Gia a secret, I know. I just want to let you know.
Oh yeah. Both of our sets of friends, they know, like, if you tell me something, just understand that I am going to tell Rashawn.
That's right.
So if you're not okay with Rashawn knowing, do not tell me. But yeah, we really are that involved with one another. But we enjoy it. We enjoy it.
It's the best, isn't it? Though
Yeah, it is.
it,
If you're blessed to have a person that you can be so close to and share so much with and feel so at ease with, and that person be your soft place to land, then you're really you really are blessed.
That's right.
beautifully said. That's your soft place to land. That's what it is. It's your safe space. You know, we talk about safe spaces, and that is your safe space. And so I'm so glad to hear that. How did you guys meet? I'm going off script now, but I don't care because now I want to talk about it.
So Gia is originally from Brooklyn, and I'm from Queens. And luckily, Gia transferred from her Brooklyn high school to my Queens high school because she moved to Queens. And when I was a senior, she was the hot girl in school.
Of course she was. Of course she was. Have you seen her?
Yeah, and this might be a little too much TMI, but you know, when we were in high school, Gia had these huge breasts, right? And she ran track, and I would stand out there, you know, when they would train track, and I would play basketball or act like I would play basketball, and I would just watch her run by. And I fell in love right then and there. She didn't feel the same way at first, you know. I would write her letters. You know, this is back in the day where we didn't have.
No, it was all about the notes. It was that's how my boyfriend, now husband, then boyfriend, it like asked me out was through notes that you're passing in school.
Yes.
Same thing.
I would wait at her locker and, you know, those type of things. Yeah. She turned me down a couple of times and, you know, we didn't have cell phones, so I had to wait by the house phone for her to call. And then she finally did. And, you know, I think our first date might have been, it was to Tony Roma's. And don't laugh. That was a big clap.
No. I'm not laughing because you know what we used to do? We used to go to TGI Fridays.
Oh, yeah.
And that was like, we felt special. Like we used to share a dessert at TGI Fridays and it didn't get better than that.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. So that was our first date. And from there, I just never let her go.
That was it.
Yeah.
That was it.
See, there was something special about love in the 90s.
Yeah.
Right? There's something so innocent about that now that I'm thinking about it. You know, you go to like a chain restaurant and we used to share this dessert. It was like an Oreo cookie ice cream dessert. And like, that was our thing. We like got that every single time we went. We always went to TGI Fridays. We felt very fancy. And
there all the time as well.
Yeah, TGI Fridays.
We used to get Shrimp Fridays. The Shrimp Fridays. It came with the honey mustard dressing.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
So good. So good. See, it's the simple things. And now all those places, they're closing. It's like, I don't even know. The kids don't even go to the mall anymore. I don't know. I love them all. So I'm from New Jersey. You know, I rep them all the time. If you want to find me, I'll probably be at the mall if I'm not home. So it's.
But the world is changing now. Drastically.
It is changing. And we have to change with our children. You know, I want to ask you, what's the dynamic like of having kids that are in their early 20s and then having little kids? Like, what is the parenting difference? Because like you really had to shift one way. Like you said, there's social media, no social media. This one's watching this on YouTube. That one's doing that on Snapchat. Like you got to keep your head on a swivel.
There's no manual. There's no manual. For each of our children, regardless of age, we parent realistically for the situations that they are in. I don't take any parenting ideology and throw it at everything. So with our older ones, like we said before, they're 23 and 21. Our next in line is 11. So there's about a 9 to 10 year gap between the two of them. So things were quite different with our older ones than it is with our younger ones. So we were 22 and 23 when we got married. So when we had our first two, we were kind of just like throwing things up against the wall and seeing what stuck.
Yeah. You're your first time parents. You're like, does this work? Does that work? I don't know. And also like social media wasn't what it is today with all the information and the Facebook and the Instagrams and all that stuff.
Absolutely. So you didn't have those things to consider. But I think that both of us took the way that we were parented wholeheartedly directly into our marriage and our parenting styles. And we didn't always agree. So there were some times where one would have to concede to the other, or where we would find that it was most prudent to have like a meeting of the minds where we would compromise and say, okay, well, let's do a little bit of what I think and a little bit of what you think and see what works. So we used all of the good stuff that we learned with our older two, and then we doubled down on it and had a lot more time to think and a lot more time to plan. And we grew a lot. We evolved a lot. We lived a lot. We had greater thoughts, opinions, and realities by the time we became parents for a second time with our second batch. And we used all of that to parent them. And
they were very lucky, like the second batch, as you say, like they were lucky to reap the benefits of all of that education, all of that insight, all of that experience that you had then for them. So that is like incredible.
By the time we had them, we already had a roadmap.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, it's like getting into a car, but before you got in the car, you had the roadmap. You know where you were going. You know what your destination was. You know exactly where you wanted to end up. But now you know how to get there with a little bit of wiggle room, because again, there's no one size fits all. But you essentially know how to get there. And we had the ability to be more intentional and more deliberate with our second set of kids.
And we have babysitters too.
that helps too.
That always helps.
That helps. But it's interesting what you're saying there, Gia, because I have a 12-year-old son, and I know that if I had another child right now, I would be a totally different mom from how it was when he was born. The world has changed in 12 years. I have changed in 12 years. I know so much more now about being intentional. And I mean, just literally everything from like the sleep training to the eating to the formula. I mean, name it, it's different, right? In the last 12 years or so. And so, yeah, it's almost like, how could I not have been more intentional, or how can I not? But again, I am also a very intentional parent, and just like you are. So that's what it is. Some people who might not necessarily be the most intentional parents, if they had a kid 13 years ago and a kid today, it might be the same roadmap, right? So it depends.
Not everyone grows.
Correct.
Not everyone evolves. Not everyone digests life and extracts lessons and makes the most of their experiences, whether they're good or bad. Not everyone has that way about going about life. But when you find people that do, there's so much good that comes from it.
Yes, absolutely. So beautifully said. So you as a family have a mission statement, right? Can we talk about that a little bit? Oh, there it is.
That's our book. I'll let you do the honors.
So I just want to clear it up. Our mission statement is not on the wall when you walk in,
Yes, like boom.
It's not like that. It's not a serious
Let me speak on it for a moment. When we first made up a mission statement, it was something more so that Rashawn and I did together. It was what we want as a family and what we want for our family. Because I always found that as human beings, it's as though you have all of these notions and ideas, but it's kind of like how people now, I think in like the last 10 years, the idea of vision boards have been so big. Because there's something to be said when you take an idea and you put it down on something where you can look at it. If you can speak it into words, you can articulate it, you can refer back to it, you can be reminded of it by it constantly being somewhere in your presence. And that's why we wanted a mission statement. We wanted to put it together so that we can say, this is what we want the foundation of our family to be. And by having it, we can strive to live up to it every day and instill it in our children every single day. So first, when we did it, it was years ago, and we didn't involve our children. But as our children got older, we brought them into the making or the recreation of our family mission statement. So we did like a big group meeting, and we sat down and we said to our kids, what's important to you? What is the most valuable thing to you about being part of this family? And we took everyone's ideas and we remixed our mission statement. So now it reflects all of them, down to our 8-year-old. It reflects everyone's sense of what's important. So I'll let you read it now.
Yeah, so the first one is we are a unit, right? It's 8 of us. We stick together.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little different for Gia. She had 2 brothers. I'm an only child. So
Me too.
yeah, so I wanted kids. The second one is we respect each other. You know, we give each other the chance to speak. We listen to each other to make sure that we all are on the same playing field. We always have each other's backs. Same thing as like we're a unit. We make sure that when mommy and daddy are not here, we look out for each other. You make sure you look out for your older brother. If daddy's not here, you look out for your sisters. We protect. We always uplift each other and point out the good in one another.
Yes.
And this is definitely, we have 2 girls that compete and dance is crazy, but that came from like always give your sister a compliment, always give your brother a compliment. Things might not be great all the time, make them feel good. Purpose is rooted in family, fun, and faith. You know, that's what our family is about. It's about faith. We pray every day with each other. Before I leave at 4 a.m, I grab Gia's hand and we pray, you know, thanking God for our home, our health and everything. Fun. We have fun as a family.
Big on fun.
Big on fun.
Big on fun.
Whether it's Monopoly, whether it's outside playing games, whether we're in the pool, we're a competitive family. Like we compete. Like there's all this goes out the window when we compete.
Right.
No more family.
No more family.
No, that's it.
We represent each other at all times.
This is big. We represent each other at all times.
When we're not there, when daddy's not there, when mommy's not there, remember your last name. That's what you represent. And the last one is the most important. We are each other's soft place to land.
Yes.
That if there's ever an issue or problem, you know you can come here and we won't judge. We'll talk, we'll help, we'll do what we have to do to make you feel. And we will fix it.
We will fix it.
And that's just a statement that our mission statement that we stand by, just so that our kids know what it is, so they never feel away. They never feel like they're left outside. They never feel like nobody's listening to them, or they don't have a place at the table where they can have a conversation or they have an idea. And that's what we stick by.
I love it. It is so beautifully intentional. Mm-hmm. Going back to what you said, it's so, each one that you picked, like I'm nodding, you can't see, yeah, it's a video, but I'm nodding along saying, check, check, check. Yes, yes, yes. That resonates with me. One thing I'm working on with my son is not throwing me under the bus for things. Mm-hmm. And that goes into what you're saying here is like, we represent each other. We always have each other's backs. Like if and I'm just kind of making this up, but like if he forgets his homework, it's not mommy's fault that you forgot your homework. You got to take responsibility for your actions. Right. And so I think that's a big part of it. And that is definitely something that comes from that mission statement.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How do you work with your children if sometimes they're not necessarily going along with what is set by the family values? How do you talk to them about that?
I would say, and this is going to sound so cliche, but the great thing with our family is they really trust. Mm-hmm. My dad is police officer, retired police officer, ex-military. So I was raised, it's my way or the highway, right? So what your dad told you to do, you did. Gia was more, I'm going to explain. So Gia's parents explained. So,
good.
You want to go to the mall? You can't go to the mall. And my dad was like, you can't because I said so. And that was it. With Gia, it's more like, well, you can't go to the mall because on Saturday it's mostly teens there. And sometimes teens can get into a fight or altercation. And I don't want you around that. So let's go on another day. So our kids understand that when mom and dad says something, it's for their best. It's for the betterment of themselves. So they have a lot of trust in what we say. Now, they will question it and ask why, and mom will give a detailed answer. Dad is trying still, but dad is still a little disciplined. But, mom explains more. And because of that, I realize that they have a lot of trust in whatever mom and dad says, they really stand on. Like, no, I can't do that because my mom and dad said no. And that's very important.
And I learned that from the way that I was parented. My parents, we had such a wonderful and beautiful relationship that they explained everything to me. So I feel as though my personality as a human being is the culmination of the both of them. And I take so much pride in that because I was loved so well. And because they took the time to explain things to me, and when I was inquisitive about things. They gave me answers. If they told me no, they let me know why. I knew that my parents never just told me no just for the sake of saying no. I knew that they didn't tell me no because they were too tired. They had a long day at work. They were stressed. They didn't want to be bothered. And they just wanted me to hurry out of their room because they had other things to do. No. If they said no, because I knew that I was loved so well, I knew that there was a reason. And I would get that explanation. And what I also knew was that my parents were so big on loving life. They loved life. They wanted me to love life. They wanted me to have fun. They wanted me to be the best at everything that I endeavored to be good at. They wanted me to strive. They wanted me to experience a full life. And because I knew that they wanted it for me, and because they championed that where I was concerned, when they gave me an opinion or an answer on something, I knew that it was coming from a place that was the most beneficial to me. So I trusted it. So because I was parented that way, I bring that to my parenting. And I'm realizing that it's having the same exact effect on my children that it had on me. I'll give you a small example. My daughter, who's 11, she goes to school in a town where most of the kids that go to that school, they almost all of them walk home from school. My daughter's not allowed to walk home from anywhere. She's not allowed to walk home from the bus stop. If that's so, instead of her challenging me and saying things that a normal 11-year-old would say, like, why? Everybody else is allowed to do it. What? You don't trust me? What? You think I'm not mature enough? Why do you have to be so difficult? Why do you have to make things so hard? Everybody else is mom. Why do you have to be the odd person out? Seriously. Oh, mom, give me a break. Never, ever, ever. So the other day after school, one of the moms was taking her and a friend to a dance store because they're competing and they wanted to have matching outfits. So she said, Mom, I was asked to walk to my friend's house after school. What do you think about that? I said, you can walk, but I'm going to follow you in my car. She said, well, it's 2 minutes away. I said, well, then I will follow you for those 2 minutes. And she said, okay. I said, now just understand, it's going to look weird. It's going to look strange. And you might be embarrassed. She said, it's okay. No problem. She said, I know it's for my best. I know you don't want me to get kidnapped. And I know that strange things happen. So I know that it's only for my protection and because you love me. So, all right, no problem. And that just happened last week. And that's just similar to many different things. We don't get much resistance from our kids, hardly any, even from our older ones, because they know that we parent them with their best interest and from a place where we want them to have fun.
That's right.
Yes, yes. Your parents were so ahead of their time. I bet they don't even realize that. Or did they? Maybe they do.
Well, both of them have passed, but
No, I'm so sorry.
Thank you. I realized the value in it as I approached adulthood. And I didn't mince words expressing to them how much I love them, how much I learned from them. When my father would say, when my father would say to me, you're your daddy's daughter. That was the greatest compliment to me. To think that he saw himself in me was the greatest compliment because I idolized him. I loved the times that he spent sitting in the den with me, telling me stories about his life, telling me about times that he failed, telling me about times that he won, explaining to me why he is the calm, cool, and collected, brilliant man that he was. I admired him. So I wanted to emulate that even though I was a girl. And my mother was kind. She was generous. She was fun. She had all of these things. She was beautiful. She was elegant. There was all of these things that I saw in her that I wanted to be as well. And when I look at myself and I hear the things that I say, I see the way that I appear in this world. It's like, wow, everything, all of it is my parents. And I parent deliberately because I want our children to feel similarly about us. So it's always a thought in the back of my mind when it comes to the way that, we treat our children. And we always say that, when our kids leave the house, we want them and we want others to know, we want it to be very apparent that they're well loved.
That's right.
We want it to show on them. And we realize that it does because when they go on play dates, when they've gone to new schools, we get phone calls, we get emails, parent-teacher conferences where the teachers, the parents will say, like, what are you guys doing in that house?
We want to do what you're doing.
Like,
We need more parents to be doing what you're doing.
what are you doing in that house? Like, because three of them, my 11, my 10, and my 8, at one point for many years, they were going to school together.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the teachers said to me, it's like when they see each other in the hallway, they'll run up to each other and give each other a hug.
Mm-hmm.
Or like, London, my 11, and will blow a kiss to like my 8-year-old, or they'll make like a little heart, like,
Mm-hmm.
and they're like, we don't see that. We don't see that amongst siblings. Like, it's just like this happiness, this joy that permeates through them that you could feel as a teacher.
That's right.
Like, what are you guys doing? And it's so reinforcing for us because that's part of the mission statement. You represent your family at all times. And when we get phone calls like that, when we get texts like that, it lets us know that when they go out, they're representing their family the way that we would hope that they would. And it all starts from them understanding that they come from something that's meaningful.
Yes. Gia, I could cry the way that you described your mother and father.
Mm-hmm.
I could probably start crying now too.
I don't think, I literally have chills.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that I have ever had a guest who has described their parents so beautifully and with such love and such respect as you did right there. So thank you for that. And I just want to hold space for them for a second and for you for a second, because they must have been so incredible.
They were.
So incredible to have a daughter like you to then carry on their legacy,
Mm-hmm.
and for your 6 children and for them to carry on their grandparents' legacy.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for sharing that story, because that is so powerful.
Thank you.
Our hope could be that someday when we pass, our children and our grandchildren will talk so highly of us.
That's our hope.
That's what any of us as mothers or parents could hope for, right?
That you affect them in that way. And the beauty of it is that, my parents did it without trying. That's just what naturally occurred to them as human beings. And they loved me so well, so that's the real beauty of it.
It's so beautiful, because so many times in many family situations, people want to do that, but they have their own trauma and they have their own baggage that gets in the way of them trying to parent the way that they would want to.
Yes.
Do you know what I'm saying?
I do.
Like they want to be the best mom, but in the back of their head, they got their mom and their mom's mom speaking through them.
Yes.
And your parents shed that.
Mm-hmm.
They shed that, and they were 100% intentional with you and your brothers. And that is so beautiful. And what a shining example that we can use for them and for you and for your family. And many times I speak about breaking generational cycles, and your parents, they did it. They broke it. They were out there way ahead of the game. And like, that's just incredible. Kudos to them. Kudos to you and to your family. Because like I said, so many times people, when they become parents, they don't know what to expect. You get handed this baby and you're like, okay, now what? And I think the default for most people is to just parent the way that they were parented, because that's an easy default to lean back into. Like you talk to your children the way that your parents talked to you for the most part, unless you make a real concerted effort, a real intentionality to parent in a different way. And so I think that is just so beautiful. And I have tears in my eyes, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry for that. Sorry if I'm like sniffly now, but it was just so beautiful, Gia, how you described them. It's just incredible and so powerful for the legacy that they had. And that shows in your parenting. It shows in this book. I mean, it's your second book. It's not even like you guys are like, oh, maybe we're like having an idea of doing this. Like, no, you guys are doing it. You're out there doing it. You're living it. You're talking the talk. You are walking the walk. You are in it as much as anybody can be in this. And that is just incredible. So congratulations to both of you on that.
Thank you. You spoke of trauma. and people parenting the way that their mothers parented or their mothers were parented. It's like that trickle down effect. And those people, those people, they're not considering how it is that they're parenting, because how they were parented innately becomes them. So the way that they speak to their children is like you hear a lot of people say, it's what I know. It's what I know. And it's a legacy that's passed down to them, and not a good one. And that's a big part of the reason why we wrote the book, to break some of those cycles so that people can pick up and go through the pages and understand and relate, like, oh, that's what I'm doing. That's the reason why I'm having this effect on my children. That's the reason why my children respond to me the way that they do. Wow, this is where that comes from. I never identified the connection between my mother or my grandmother and myself. I never really identified how what I lacked as a child and as a young adult, how that played out in my adulthood, my relationship, my parenting, everything. A lot of people, like, the world is so fast. In the song Go, 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 we're all so burdened. We have so many responsibilities. You throw kids in the mix, and a lot of people don't have the time, the patience, the bandwidth to be a phenomenal parent. It's a huge undertaking, and it takes a mindset, and it takes a very deliberate and purposeful nature to execute it well. And most people have too much on their plate. It's like, all right, like, you're 10 now. There's so many things you can do on your own. Like, figure it out. You know what I mean? And a lot of parents have relief in that. Meanwhile, your 10-year-old still needs you. My 20-year-old still needs me. And it's about ways that I can always make myself available to them, develop ways where they trust me, where they have faith in my decisions. It's about creating a foundation for my children to be empowered, secure, not susceptible to the thoughts, feelings, emotions, and opinions of others. Them feeling validated in their own home. So they're not looking for validation outside the home, because when they look for validation outside the home, what happens? They're subject to being overlooked, to being taken advantage of, to feeling as though they're not enough, and to being the lowest rung on the totem pole. And that's not what I want for my children. And what I realize is that by giving them attention, as Rashawn mentioned earlier, by having patience, which has to be in a lot of cases very, very deliberate, because we're so impatient as a society, especially now with everything being instantaneous, instant gratification, everywhere. To be a patient human being, child or adult, it takes a deliberate nature. So to do all of these things so that you can have children that are grounded and that feel as though they belong in any room that they walk into, because we want them to have their own identity.
Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. You should just take my job. You are she's incredible, Envy. She's incredible. Oh, I mean, that's why you've been married for 30 years. Like,
the luckiest man in the world. I tell everybody every day.
Incredible. I'm going to ask both of you a question that I ask all of my guests, whether they're dads or moms or dads or whatever. And I'm going to ask you separate, and I'm curious to see what each of your answers is. But first, I'm going to go with Gia, because ladies first. What do you think is the biggest modern mom problem out there right now?
The biggest modern mom problem, I really do think that it is women being so heavily burdened right now, and there being so much expectations placed on women by their society and their partners. Because as a woman, so many of us are expected to get up in the morning, get the kids ready, make breakfast, make lunch, get them dressed, do their hair, brush their teeth, wash their faces, get in the car, drive them to school. Then after that, go to work ourselves. Then come home, pick the kids up from school or grab them from the bus stop, cook, clean, make the house pretty, and then give them their baths and do their homework with them, and then get in the bed and sleep with their husband at night and satisfy him, please him. Meanwhile, you haven't really done too much exclusively for yourself. That's a heavy burden. Meanwhile, men, they do some of that. They get up, they go to work, but because you're a woman, a lot of that burden is placed on you. You're responsible for anything related to the kids, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I'm fortunate in the sense where my husband shares all of the responsibilities with me. And for the most part, he wakes up every day thinking like, damn, how can I make my wife's job a little bit easier today? And that I know that I'm blessed for, and I know that that's not the normal, but most women have that burden. And it's not easy to do all that. And that's why, you know, you have that soccer mom look or that tired mom look, because in the midst of doing all that, when do you have time to do something for yourself? When do you have time to put on some mascara, fix your brows, throw on some eyeliner, you know, and feel beautiful yourself? Like, we lose ourselves oftentimes in the role of mom and wife. And what winds up happening is that over time, women start feeling less sexy. They start feeling less attractive. And there's a whole slew of problems that come along with that. Then you start to breed insecurity. I'm not good enough. And also, when you don't take care of yourself, what can happen? You can start to gain weight, and then that can affect your body image. And a lot of it just has to do with the fact that we're too burdened. And that's a big modern mom problem, because it's hard to be there for others when you can't be there for yourself. So then if you don't feel good about yourself, how are you showing up for your children? How are you showing up for your husband? So it's like this line of dominoes that falls because many women are not well enough supported.
Yeah. Beautiful answer. Now, Envy, you got to follow that.
Doing my modern moms now.
No, but I'm curious about your answer. Like,
Yeah.
your answer is valid too. You're a modern father.
So for modern parents, I would say social media. And the reason I say social media is, you know, as Gia just said, it's tough out there. But when you look at social media, everything looks perfect. So here you are trying to match your life with somebody's life that doesn't exist, right? Because I always say social media is just a highlight reel of your life. It's just the highs, right? Nobody ever shows the lows, which is part of the reason why we wrote the book, to let people know that there are lows as well. And a lot of people get depressed, they get stressed out, and they do things they usually wouldn't do because they're trying to, before it was, when we were growing up, it was keeping up with the Joneses.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's keeping up with social media, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's very difficult because you have to deal with real life and then you have to deal with social media.
Mm-hmm.
And when dealing with social media, we understand if you have kids that, you know, if you got into a fight as a kid, you got into an argument, or as a parent, you did something wrong, usually it's over after a day. But now after social media, it lives forever. There's so many things that I've said on the Breakfast Club 16 years ago that now at TikTok,
Right.
and you're so embarrassed. I'm like, I've evolved. I'm not that person anymore. But these are the things that you have to deal with. And for us, our family, our kids, you know, if I would tell you how many times my 21-year-old son says, Dad, you're embarrassing me on radio. Could you not say that? You know, Dad, I'm in high school. Dad, my friends listen on the way to work. Like, you get that. So I would say the biggest burden that I see is social media, because it's not a real place, you know.
No.
And I told somebody the other day, it's very difficult. Tara, I can get on social media right now and say, you know what? Tara's background was gray. And because it's gray, the aliens hate her. And because the aliens hate her, this, that, and the other. And you know what? I'll put that on TikTok and I'll get a million.
Boom.
Right? That's a million views, right? And that'll pay me money. And I'm like, oh. And then what do I do tomorrow? You know what? The sign that she had was really made by kids overseas, and that they weren't getting paid, and Tara's a bad person. And then I get another million views. But, you know, these things really could affect you, because you look at, you know, some of your advertisers, you look at your sponsorships, and you'd be like, do people really believe it? And you're like, oh my God, it affects you. And this is what happens to kids, you know. Our daughters dance. They post their, their dance routines. But like I tell everybody, they're working it out. So they're trying, they're learning. If they weren't strong enough and had a mom that they could talk to with so much patience, they would have their self-esteem would be so low because people look at the negative side of things, and we teach our kids that, excuse my French, F what those people think. When you come to this family, we're going to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
We have your back. Don't worry about them. People are fickle. Your mom, your dad, your siblings won't be. So to answer your question, social media, I think, is the devil, but that's what it is.
Agreed. And that's a separate conversation. I loved chatting with you both so much. Tell everyone, where can we buy this book? Where can we find you online? Tell us all the things.
These are all of our kids, by the way.
They're beautiful. What a gorgeous family. They are just stunning.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Yes, Amazon.com. You can go to Barnes & Nobles, wherever you buy books.
Yes.
You can also get the Audible from Audible, and you can hear the audio version of it. We actually narrated it ourselves. It took us a long time, but we actually did it. But and when you're out and about and you're looking about relationships, Real Life, Real Love is our first book. We just talk about our life and relationships, the ups and downs. And this is all about parenting. So if you're thinking about having a kids or you're having a kids, and we go through the gamut, whether it's, potty training, whether it's the sexual talk, whether you have kids that have ADD or ADHD, we go through the gamut. And hopefully this can help you so much out there in the lifestyle. And as Gia would say, there are pages in here where you can actually, like workshop pages, where there's questions where you can ask yourself and see how it relates with different.
So they're called Real Life Reflections, which pretty much incites you to ask yourself questions regarding the content of the chapter that was prior. It's kind of like in a sense, maybe even like journaling. On this page, it gives you opportunities to write your answers, but it probes you to be more intentional and to be more deliberate and to soul search in a sense, because it's questions that oftentimes people don't ask themselves. And it's realizations that a lot of people won't come to unless they're probed. So we made it our business to probe you. And I also want to say that we wrote this alongside a psychologist because we have all of our ideas and our nods to parenting. And we wanted to make sure that there was a stamp put on it, that the book was quarterbacked by a professional, because when you're talking about family, you're talking about people's most precious cargo. So we want to make sure that everything that we talk about is backed by a psychologist and psychologically sound for you and your family.
I love it. I love it. Both of you, thank you so much for being here
Thank you.
today. This was incredible. Rep in Bergen County. I love it. Thank you so much, everyone. Go follow them, listen to The Breakfast Club, do all the things. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to today's episode of Modern Mom Probs. I hope you enjoyed our deep dive in today's problem with me, your host, Tara Clark. Join me next time when I'll be interviewing another great guest and tackling another modern mom problem. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave us a review and a rating. As always, you could head over to Modern Mom Probs on Instagram and give me a follow, or check out my book, Modern Mom Probs, A Survival Guide for 21st Century Mothers, available online wherever books are sold. Well, that's it for today. See you next time, folks.